Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello everyone, I am Professor Kavita Solanki at University School of Law and Legal Studies, Guru Govind Singh Indraprastha University, Delhi, Dwarka. Today we will talk about gig and platform workers. Gig means work on demand. It means when you need something, you can demand and you would be getting the services. You can enjoy the services and you have to make the payment. So when we think about like grocery item, when we think about the rides, Uber rides, Ola rides, what we do basically, we just demand, we take the services and we make the payment. This work on demand category of the workers, either it comes under the gig or the platform workers. The problem with them is they are not protected under any of the labor legislation. So when we think about it, nowadays if we need something like gig facilities, we can avail, like we can order, we can hire the accountant, we can avail the services, and up to the freelancer services we can get the benefit. The status of this gig and the platform workers, it has not been recognized under any of the labor legislations. First initiative has been taken up by the government of India, and now because on the recommendation of the second Labour Law Commission, and so all these 29 labor legislations, they has been amalgamated and consolidated, and we are 4 codes with us. So for the gig and the platform workers, they have been included for the first time under the code on social security. So the protection has been given to these workers under this particular code. Otherwise, when we talk about these workers, because these workers, they are not recognized. Some says they are the independent contractors, they are the freelancers. So no security has been given to these workers. But on the other hand, when we see that, because these workers, they are performing their work, but on the other hand, someone is there to control these workers, because all the digital platforms, they are giving, those who are handling the digital platforms, they are giving the order, or like they are controlling, they are giving the instructions to these workers. They decide from where to pick up, from where to deliver, how much the money, ground for the deduction of the money. So nothing is into hand of these workers, but they are putting into the independent contractor category, so they feel the deprived from all these kind of the benefit which has been given under the labor law. Either we are talking about any of the social security benefit in terms of Employee Compensation Act, Provident Fund Act, Employee State Insurance Act, or any gratuity or any other social security scheme. So they are not entitled for it. On the other hand, even the Minimum Wages Act, so the no protection has been given to these workers if they are not given the minimum wages, health, safety and the welfare provisions. So they are deprived from all these kind of the benefits which has been given under the labor law. So the code on social security is the first legislation where this the gig workers and the platform workers, they have been recognized, and the provisions has been made under this act, where like into this code, the central and the state schemes has been introduced, and for the welfare of these unorganized sector, gig and the platform workers, and the helpline has been created, and we are having the other protection and the benefit has been given into these workers. So let's start with it. Gig basically means work on demand. There is no long-term obligation. The worker comes, goes and takes the money. And in today's time, easily ride can be booked. We can order the food, we can get the groceries in morning or at any time, or we can schedule a home repair in just a few clicks. But when we think of a gig work, Uber drivers and the food delivery workers, normally they come into the mind. But the gig economy is actually much broader, and it includes everything, like from professional health services to the logistics services. And it is important to note that we process proceed to learn about them. The gig worker, they are classified as those workers who can be called the independent contractor. Instead of calling them employees, even though the work control is exercised by the platform and the work is decided by that mode, and the relationship with the employer and the worker can be termed as a partnership. Because of this, like these gig workers, they are denied to fall under the definition of the employee and thus denied all the benefits like minimum wages, paid maternity leave, social security benefits, and the protection from occupational health hazards, and which are given emphasis under the other labor statutes. The role of this recognition of the challenge of the gig workers and the platform workers has been recognized by the government. So into this direction, the Indian government has made a significant move. They streamlined the country's labor code by consolidating existing 29 central legislation into the 4 comprehensive ones. They were enacted in 2020 and they are known as the Code on Wages 2019, Industrial Relations Code 2020, Code on Social Security 2020, and Code on Occupation Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code. Gig workers and the platform workers, they have been recognized under the Code on Social Security for the first time. When we see the report of the Niti Aayog, in its report, and the title has been given that India's booming gig and the platform economy in 2022. And it has been estimated that there were 68 lakhs gig workers in 2019 and 20, using both principal and the subsidiary status, forming 2.4% of the non-farm workforce and or 1.3 of the total workforce workers in India. The gig workforce is expected to expand to 2.35 crores workers by 2029 to 30. When we see the recognition of the gig workers under the Code on Social Security is into this direction, the provisions has been made under this code, and this Code on Social Security 2020, it was introduced into the Lok Sabha on 19th of September 2020, passed by the Lok Sabha on 22nd September, passed by the Rajya Sabha on 23rd September, and the President gave the assent on 28th of September. And this code, basically Code on Social Security, it is consisting of 14 chapters, 164 sections and the 7 schedules. The definitions has been given under this code is, for the first time, the definition of the aggregator has been given. Aggregator means a digital intermediary or a marketplace, or it can be it can be a person, it can be a company, so or it can be a digital intermediary, it can be an app. So that is for a buyer or user of a services to connect with the seller or the services provider. So aggregator, for the first time, say for example Uber, Rapido, Zomato, Swiggy, they are considered to be the aggregator. The aggregator under the Code on Social Security, the aggregator, they have been defined in Schedule 7 of the code, into which the long list has been given, and or they are coming under the definition of the aggregators. The classification of the aggregator is ride sharing services, food and the grocery delivery services, logistics services, e-marketplaces, both marketplace and the inventory model for wholesale, retail sale of goods and the services. So the model has been given B2B, B2C, business to business or business to consumer. So e-marketplace is also included. Professional service provider is a part of the aggregator. Healthcare, travel and the hospitality, content and media services, any other goods and the service provider platform. So they are included under the definition of the aggregator. Gig workers. Gig worker means a person who perform work or participates in a work arrangement and earn from such activities outside of a traditional employer-employee relationship. The person who is doing the work or giving the services, that is, it would be considered to be the gig worker, because the person is connected through the this platform and digital platform, and he is rendering the services. But this is other than the traditional employer and the employee relationship. platform worker, it has been defined in section 2/60. It means a work arrangement outside of a traditional employer-employee relationship in which organizations or the individuals, they use an online platform to assess other organizations or the individuals to solve specific problems or to provide specific services or any such services or activities which may be notified by the central government in exchange of the payment, because the platform is that is a subsect of the gig economy. So when we are using the term platform worker, means a person engaged or undertaking platform work. Example, like it can be ride sharing services worker, it can be Zomato delivery agent, food or grocery delivery workers. They are the platform workers. So normally these differences is gig and the platform workers is because normally the gig workers, they can perform online and the offline, but platform workers, they can be connected through the online platforms or the mobile apps. Gig workers, freelancers, tutors and the consultant can be there. It can be online and the offline. But on the other hand, Uber, Ola drivers, Swiggy, Zomato, because only they are operated, the platform workers, they are operated through the online platforms. So in both the categories, there is a more control over the clients, timings and the work style in case of the gig workers. But on the other hand, the platform workers, less control, and they are governed by the platform policies and the algorithms. If we see into the gig workers, not dependent on one platform, but on the other hand, the platform workers, they are fully dependent on a specific digital platform. When we see the objective of Code on Social Security 2020, so like into this, it provides a social security to unorganized sector, gig workers and the platform workers. So for the first time, gig workers, platform workers has been recognized, and for this, just to ensure their access to healthcare and provide income security, especially into the situations such as the old age, unemployment, sickness, or invalidated. Say sometimes the person is incapacitated by long-term illness or chronic health conditions. They require someone who can take care. So either the person due to the invalidity or work-related injuries, maternity or the loss of the bread earners, these rights and these schemes are conferred under the Code on the Social Security. So for the first time, this kind of the social security schemes can be given into the unorganized sectors and the gig workers. So under chapter 9 of the Code on Social Security, for the unorganized sectors, government, gig workers and the platform workers. So here schemes has been framed by the central government in section 109, and on the other hand, the state government, they have also framed the schemes for the employees. The central government schemes is the schemes related where the central government, they have notified from time to time the schemes for the unorganized workers and on these kind of the matters like life and disability cover, health and the maternity benefit, old age protection, education, or any other benefit as may be determined by the central government. So they can frame the policies relating to these matters. But on the other hand, when we see the state governments, they can also frame the policy relating, and they can notify from to time relating to provident fund, employment injury benefit, housing, education schemes for the children, skill upgradation of the workers, funeral assistance and the old age homes. So for these kind of the matters, the state government is competent and they can frame the schemes relating to these matters. So now the question comes, if the government they are framing the schemes, the question is regarding the funding of these schemes. Who is making the contributions? So from where they would be getting the funding? Whether the state government is making the funding for all these schemes, or the state government, they have to bear these kind of the expenses on and on, or whether the employer would be making the contribution or the donation can be accepted. Funding of the state government schemes it has been discussed in section 110 of the Code on Social Security, and where it has been mentioned that like any of these schemes which has been notified by the state government into this and relating to section 109, so it can be either wholly funded by the state government, or it can be partially funded by the state government, partly funded through the contributions collected from the beneficiaries of these schemes, or the employers as may be specified into the schemes by the state government. So sometime what happened through the contributions, so funding can be made with the help of the state government and the contributions which they have received, and funded from any source including the corporate social responsibility fund, because under the company law, so corporate social security fund, corporate social responsibility fund has been created, so they can get the funding from that fund and any other source which has been specified into this scheme. And state government, they can seek the financial assistance sometime from the central government for the schemes framed by it, and central government may provide such a financial assistance to the central government for the purpose of the schemes for such a period and on the terms and the condition as they may think fit. So the funding can be done in that way. Sometime the central government, they can provide the funding and they can fix a time, because once they start with these schemes, later on they can make their own arrangements. So for the time being and for a specific duration of the time, the funding can be made by the central government for this purpose. Like for the gig workers, we are having it is the duty of the government is they have to maintain the record. So in section 111, this is the duty of the government to formulating and notifying the schemes under this chapter, and they will provide therein the form and the manner of keeping the records electronically. So once they are making the funding, so this is the duty of the government, they have to maintain the record. So how the record can be maintained? They have to maintain the record either into the electronic form, so digital record has to be maintained, or into the prescribed form. So they must do, other than the digital mode, they must do maintain that record. So the authority by whom such a record shall be maintained, provided that such a record shall, or as far as it may be possible, be a continuous number for the purpose of proper management of this scheme and avoiding any duplication or overlapping in records. So because once they would be having the continuous number, so the chances would be there would be the more transparency can be made. There won't be any kind of the overlapping. So this is the duty of the government. They must have to maintain the record in that form. For the help of the gig workers, platform workers, or unorganized workers, so this is the duty they must have to, the government, they must have to maintain the helpline, and this is, we can see the toll-free number has to be provided. So this is the helpline facilitation center is there. So appropriate government, they can set up a toll-free call number or helpline number, or such a facilitation center may be considered necessary from time to time to perform any or more of the following functions mainly. So how it can help by providing this helpline number. So through this they can share, they can spread the information, they can disseminate the information on the available social security schemes for the unorganized workers, gig workers, and the platform workers. Say whether someone wants to know any kind of the scheme, we are having so many portals has been created, say My Scheme, or the eShram portal has been created. So like this is the duty of the government is they must do provide this helpline number where they can dial and they will come to know about the schemes. So the more information can be spread through these numbers. And to facilitate filing, how they can go for these schemes is, so they can facilitate how they can file or go for the processing, or they can forward the application form for the registration of these gig workers, platform workers, and they can assist unorganized workers, gig workers, and the platform workers to obtain the registration. So because after getting the information, they can register themselves, and to facilitate the enrollment of the registration for these workers into the social security schemes. So they can facilitate these workers, now they can avail the benefit of these schemes. registration of the gig workers, platform workers, or the unorganized workers, because all the categories has been mentioned in section 113. And for this, here this is like every worker, like it can be unorganized worker, gig workers, or the platform workers, they can require to be registered for the purpose of this chapter basically. And once they would be fulfilling all these conditions, so they must to satisfy the conditions which has been mentioned here under this act is. And if they want to get the benefit of these schemes is, it is very important that the person has to complete the age of 16 years or the age which has been prescribed by the central government. So the person must have completed the age of 16 years if want to get the benefit under this act. And sometime what happened, the central government, they can prescribe the age limit to avail the benefit of these schemes. And after that, like he has submitted self-declaration. This person would be giving the self-declaration electronically or otherwise in such a form and in such a manner containing such a information which has been prescribed by the central government. So self-declaration has to be given by the person. Like every eligible unorganized worker, gig, or the platform worker, they will make an application for the registration, and along with the documents including the Aadhaar number which has been prescribed by the central government, and such workers shall be assigned a distinguishable number to this thing. Because once the person would be going for the registration, into the registration process, he must to mention the Aadhaar number which has been given to this person, and once he will make the entry of the Aadhaar number, other number would be given to the worker. So this like he would be getting the other number. And so because after making the registration, that he would be he can register himself. And later on, this registered worker like shall be eligible to avail the benefit of the concerned scheme which has been set up under this chapter. So once he would be registered, then he can get the benefit of this scheme. And central government or the state government, they would be making such a contribution into the schemes which has been specified therein. So sometime the central government would be making the contribution for these schemes. Already we have mentioned that, like the central government, they can notify, they can frame the schemes relating to that particular area which we have discussed it earlier. And the state government, they would be making they would be giving the contribution for the area which has been mentioned earlier. And for this purpose, the government they have made the initiative. And for this purpose, like national centralized database has been created for the unorganized workers. And so because now they are having, otherwise it was a big failure, Unorganized Social Security Act. That was the reason for the failure of that act is at that time because the data was not available for the BPL persons below poverty line, so they couldn't avail the benefit of the schemes which has been framed by the central government. So this time that is, now they would be having the centralized database, and so they can avail the benefit of this scheme. The government has taken the initiative. This is the central government. The e-Shram portal has been created by the Ministry of Labour and the Employment into this direction. And so they have launched this portal, and on 26th of August 2021, and they have launched this portal, and the aim was a centralized national database for the unorganized workers. And into this, they have included the gig workers, migrant workers, domestic workers, street vendors, construction workers, and the other informal sector employees who are typically not covered by the formal employment benefits. So this portal assigns such a registered person a unique universal account number, and it would be linked with the Aadhaar, and so the person can easily access the various social security benefits and the financial assistance and the employment related benefits. So because once through the e-Shram portal, the person can register himself and for this a unique number would be given to these persons, and so after that the person will come to know about the scheme, and he will come to know who is going to fund these schemes, so he can get the benefit. So into which we are having the category of the workers, those who are not covered anywhere. So either the unorganized sector or the gig worker, platform worker, domestic worker, or we can say the worker, those who are doing the work into into any of the informal sector, street vendors, construction workers. So if they are not covered under any of the social security scheme, so they can get the assistance related with the employment related benefits. Into this direction, the budget of the union government. So when we see the budget into the year of 2024 and 25, when we see the budget allocation, for the labor reforms, that it has been proposed that e-shram portal would be integrated with the other portals, so to provide the one-stop labor services solution, and will include the mechanism to connect the job seekers with the potential employers and the skill providers. So because the budget had been allocated into this direction, so if any of the gig workers or these workers, they can get, if they want to enhance their skill, they can go for the skill upgradation. If they are looking for the job, so the more information can be provided through these portals. So the government has made the arrangement in that way. So e-shram has been integrated with the National Career Services NCS portal, and where the unorganized workers can register on NCS, and it can be unorganized worker, it can be the gig workers and the platform workers. So they can register on this National Career Service portal, and they would be using their universal account number, because which has been given earlier, and they can search for the suitable job opportunities. This e-shram portal is integrated with the Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mandhan. So PMSYM is a pension scheme for the unorganized workers and those who are aged between 80 to 40 years. It provides a monthly pension of rupees 3,000 after attaining the age of 60 years. So those who have reached to this age and up to the age of 60 years, attain the age of 60, so they can avail the benefit of the pension scheme under this portal. And using the UAN universal account number, any unorganized worker can easily enroll under this scheme, and into this scheme 50% of the contribution is borne by the government of India and the rest is borne by the contributed by the workers. So this is kind of the, we can say, the contributory scheme. So where the central government would be contributing, and on the other hand these workers, they would be contributing up to the age of 60 years. So later on they can get their pension scheme benefit. And to provide the skill enhancement and this apprenticeship opportunity to these unorganized gig workers, so e-shram has been integrated with the Skill India digital portal. So here under the Ministry of the Skill Development and the Entrepreneurship, so if they want to upgrade their skill, so because under the Skill India, the more the skill upgradation facility has been provided, so they can make themselves the skilled person through these, under these schemes. Through this e-shram is integrated with the My Scheme portal. My Scheme portal, under this is a national platform that aims to offer a one-stop search and discovery of the government scheme. So basically under the My Shram portal, all the government schemes, if there's someone is looking for the government scheme, so on a one click they will come to know what kind of schemes are available for these workers. So they can look for these kind of the schemes. And under this My Shram portal, it provides an innovative and the technology based solution to discover the scheme information based upon the eligibility of the citizens. So either someone wants to upgrade into the any of the categories, so they can register themselves under the My Scheme portal, and they will come to know. If we want to see the registration under this on e-shram portal, and that is the registration is like if we see the registration has been made almost 3.5 crores registration has been made till date. If we see the on a e-shram portal, and it's a press release by the Ministry of the Labor and the Employment, and which has been published in December 2024. So almost more than
30.5 crores.
persons has been registered under this. Section 114 of the Code on Social Security. There is a scheme has been given for the gig workers and the platform workers. So central government, they have framed the schemes for the gig workers and the platform workers, and these are the suitable social security schemes has been given. So these schemes are relating to the matter like life and the disability cover. So here the disability, say either someone has become, life insurance has been given, or the disability has been covered, say if the person become, total disabled, partial disabled, or temporary disabled. So this kind of the benefit has been given. So disability cover has been given, accident insurance has been provided, health and the maternity benefit has been given by the central government scheme, and old age protection has been given. Crutch facility has been given, so they can avail the benefit of the crutch facility and any other scheme which has been determined by the central government. So and all the schemes, they can be framed and they notified where the appropriate government thinks so, like into the manner according to the administration of the scheme, and there is a agency has been there for the implementing the scheme. And here the role of the aggregator has been given for the schemes. So it has been recognized that like how the aggregator, role of the aggregator is important, because into the 7th schedule or the code on the social security, the list of the aggregator has been given, the classification has been made. So here would be the role of the aggregator into these schemes, and the helpline has been given. Facilitation center for the unorganized workers, gig workers and the platform workers. Registration of the gig worker, platform workers has been the government, they can frame the on these matters, and the schemes for the gig workers and the platform workers. So in that way, section 114 is very, very important, because here the schemes has been dedicatedly given for the gig workers and the platform workers, and where the appropriate government is the central government, they can work on these schemes. So after discussing the schemes, and so here the central government, they would be talking about the source of the funding, and so if the central government, they consider necessary for the efficient administration of the scheme, so they can discuss on that. Any scheme which has been notified by the central government, they can wholly funded by the central government, partly funded by the central government. So like wholly funded by the contribution of the aggregators, or partly funded by the central government, partly funded by the state government, partly funded by the, so all the contributions, so how these schemes would be running, everything can be discussed under this. So here the funding from the social corporate responsibility, so under the Companies Act 2013, it has been mentioned there, or if they are having any other source, so they can discuss. Contribution to be paid by the aggregator for these kind of the fundings. So in section 141, so to be like at such a rate not exceeding the 2% but not less than 1%. Like to what extent the contribution can be given by the aggregator, where they would be giving to what percent. So it can be, the rate would be not exceeding the 2%, but it should not to be the 1%. But sometimes what happens, if the aggregator is having, more work, more employment, running two establishment or more establishment, then in that case, this is the duty of the aggregator. They would be paying the this kind of the separate funding for separate employment, and so. And it depends upon the annual turnover of such an aggregator who falls within the category of the aggregator, and they have mentioned into the 7th schedule. So provided that the contribution by the aggregator shall not exceed the 5% of the amount paid or payable by an aggregator to the gig workers. So they can't pay more than that, the 5% of their corporate, they can't give them more than the 5%. So it depends upon the annual turnover of the aggregator, and it into the annual turnover, like the tax or the cess which has been payable to the central government, it will not be included into the turnover of the aggregator. If they want to make the payment, then in that case they would be excluded. So the tax or the this kind of the cess, they will not be included under this when we talk about the annual turnover of an aggregator. And the date of the commencement of the contribution from the aggregators under this section, that would be notified by the central government. So when these schemes are implementing, so they will notify the date. And the National Social Security Board has been set up under this section. So there is a National Social Security would be constituted, and that would be for the purpose of the welfare of the gig workers and the platform workers under the provision of this code. Into this National Social Security Board, so there would be the members 5. How the constitution can be made? So who would be the member of the National Social Security Boards? So how the representation can be given? How many members from the the central government, and how many members from the employer side, from the employee side? So National Social Security Board has been mentioned. So there would be the 5 representative of the aggregators, and 5 into the schedule 7, they would be taking the 5 representative of the aggregator, but the central government would be nominating, and the 5 representative of the gig workers and the platform workers, again the central government would nominate, and the Director General of the corporation would be their Central Provident Fund Commissioner, because this Provident Fund, so there is a PF Provident Fund Act, so into which we are having the Central Provident Fund Commissioner is there. So that is the person would be there, and from the central board side, and such expert members as the central government may consider appropriate. So more role of the central government would be there, and the 5 representatives of the state governments and central government would be considered whom they are appropriate, and here these 5 representatives from the state government can be nominated by the central government, and that would be on a rotation basis. They would be the member of this National Social Security Board, and Joint Secretary of the Government of India in the Ministry of Labour and Employment, and they would be the member secretary of the board. So for this, the central government can provide that the authority to collect and proceed the contribution collected. So and the rate of the interest to be paid by the aggregator in case of the delayed payment, less payment, and the non-payment of the contribution. So here the central government has to decide all this. So because here they would be appointing the authority who would be appointing all these these kind of the funding. Say for example, if the aggregator, they are making the delay payment, and so they are not making the payment on time, so how the things can be addressed? So what will happen if the less payment has been made by the aggregator for this funding? So this thing would be discussed. So self-assessment of the contribution by the aggregators, and the condition for the cessation of a gig workers and the platform workers. So when these persons would be cease to be entitled for the benefit of these schemes, and any other matter relating to the smooth functioning of the social security schemes, that has been notified under this section. And the central government, they will notify and they can exempt any of the aggregator. So here the power has been given to the central government, so they can exempt any of the aggregator or class of the aggregator for paying the contribution under this scheme. For the purpose of this section, the aggregator having more than one business shall be considered to be a separate business entity of the aggregator. It means if the one of the aggregator is running the 2 employment, 2 businesses or more than that, the person would be contributing separately for each and every businesses. And the problem of the gig worker is whether they would be considered under the category of the employee or not. So, but if we talk about the criteria, already it has been settled by the Supreme Court, and that has been settled by the Apex Court, that is in Dharan Gadra Chemical Works Limited versus State of Saurashtra in 1957, and it has been clearly mentioned that, like, here the Supreme Court, they have devised the formula, and we can say the twin test has been given by the Supreme Court, that is regarding the supervision and the control. So under this doctrine of control and the supervision, so when we see that like it states that the relationship of the employer and the employee will be established where the employer will exercise the supervision and the control on any work which is performed by the employee and the way in which the work has been done. So because the supervision and the control, when we see that, like, who would be the employer is, who is supervising and having the control, so would be considered to be the employer. And but when we see this formula into this context of the gig worker and the platform worker, so here when we see Uber and the Swiggy, they are determining the remuneration which has to be received by their drivers, and the route which has to be they should take through the Google Map or other means. So the Google these routes has been decided by these platforms, and they are supervising online transactions, and they are laying down the criteria, penalizing them for the violation of the terms by deducting from their payment. So if they are making the delay, or if there is any kind of misconduct, or there is, if there is any kind of the violation on the part of the driver, so thus it can be said that the involvement is not only limited to acting as a third party facilitator. The control over the work and the performance all fulfill the test which has been laid down into this Dharan Gadra case, thereby creating an employer-employee relationship. So into this case, we can say that, and it's a very old one, 1957 case. So this comes under the ambit of the employer and the employee relationship. So why these workers, they have been deprived from the labor benefit. So otherwise the formula has been given. The other jurisdiction, if we see that in US approach, they have discussed the US, they have discussed the similar kind of the approach. If we see the UK approach, because we follow the UK laws, so into this direction, when we see the Apex Court into the United Kingdom, they have gone for to recognize a relationship which is based upon the unilateral or pervasive control, and which control the exercise on the performance the work in the Uber BV versus Aslam and the other in 2021, where even the court in other countries like Spain, France, they have followed the same steps which has been laid down into the Uber BV case decided by the UK. So when we see the draft, even the European Union, when we see the EU's draft regarding the protection of the gig workers and the platform workers, so we can say that they are clearly, they set out a good model to establish a legal protection for the platform workers and the gig workers, and the manner performing the work that is regulated. And Apex Court of the UK, they have stated it very clearly. Whenever any person books his ride with the help of the Uber app, then it is the app which decides the fare. It is not the discretion of the driver to decide, and then charge the fare from the customer. So all the things has to be decided by these apps owners, we can say that. So these aggregator, they decide everything. So ultimately making the Uber decide how much the driver will earn depending on the work they do. So basically there is nothing is into the hand of these gig worker and the platform workers. On a similar notion, we can say that it can be said that even in India, we should take a steps to recognize these gig and the platform workers, and it becomes important to recognize the nature of the employment is not only limited to the code on the social security, but it should extend to the payment of the minimum wages, protection and the compensation being granted for the occupation in the hazardous places under the Occupation Safe Health and the Working Condition Code. So because into this direction, it is a demand that the more coverage has to be given, more security provisions has been provided to these gig workers and the platform workers. So not only the minimum wages entitlement is enough, but some social security schemes has to be, or the protection has been provided, say because if they are doing the work into the hazardous work, or are doing the work into sometime if they met with an accident, then in that case the benefit has to be given to these workers in case of the death or disablement. So there is a need to work more into this direction, and so that's why, because they have to be included, not the provisions has to be applicable on these workers from the code on occupational health, safety and the welfare of the workers. So that has to be applicable upon these workers, and a holistic approach for the gig and the platform workers is a need of the hour to avoid the exploitation. And even this thing has been realized by the Supreme Court in many cases. So when we see like Article 23, it talks about Bigar, it talks about the forced labor, and so it's very clear, and it is against the forced labor. People's Union for Democratic Rights versus Union of India in 1982. Into this case, the Apex Court had interpreted and hold that the persistence of a constant threat of starvation and lack of economic safety that might force many workers to take a job and come with their way, even they are offered a low quality of the jobs, and nature work is not of a better quality, because we see that because these workers, they are not having any other opportunities. So we can say the beggars cannot be choosers. So they are ready to work on a starvation wages. So because they are not having any other kind of the opportunity and the protection, and so this degree of the coercion which continues to persist into the labor market breaks down when no compensation is being paid, and finally the court has held that the application of the right can be horizontal applied. If we are not able to give them benefit vertically, then it has to be interpreted horizontally. And so by this means the private employers, they have to be made responsible for creating such a working conditions which results in a forced labor. So either someone is either the private players, or so if they are creating such a forced condition, they are unnecessarily putting the coercion on these workers for making them agree for a lower wages, so they should be held accountable. So even the other cases, see National Textile Workers versus P.R. Ramakrishnan and the other in 1983. So again the Supreme Court has placed the value of the principle of the Constitution, and which goes beyond the meaning of the forced labor, and the emphasis has been given that is to maintain the social order under which the promises can be made, and so the more participation of the worker can be provided. And here the directive principle of the state policies, they guide the government policy in achieving the social welfare goals, and on looking at the objective which has been laid down in Article 39, which emphasizes on the role of the government in ensuring the necessary means of livelihood for all the individuals. And so no forced employment can seriously affect the health of the workers. So because this is the job of the government, they must to create the means for the livelihood of the workers. And apart from Article 42 and the 43, which makes the direction upon the government, so the beneficial legislation can be created to promote a just and the human conditions of the work, to ensure the standard of living is maintained and opening the opportunity for all. Article 43 it talks about living wages, not only the minimum wages or the fair wages is enough, rather the government, they must try to achieve the living wages. So where these workers, they can maintain their efficiency, as well as they are having the right to enjoy their life. So more recreational, the wages has to be provided in that way. They can maintain their children's education, or the medical bills, they can be maintained from their wages, or they can enjoy their life. Recreational activity can be included. So and also into this direction, Article 23 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and with the International Labour Organization, they advocates for the decent work, and they includes all the working like fair wages, decent working hours, occupation safety, and the provisions of the social security benefits, which has to be considered into the basic rights. And apart from India, that has been ratified ILO, like abolition of the forced labor convention 1957, and which makes a prohibition of the state from using any kind of the labor for economic development. So the Indian state, for the legal fiction, they prevent the application of the employment rights, and are granted to the gig workers and the platform workers. It's a suggestive to the use and the exploitation of the labor for economic development, and contrary to the international commit. Bandhwa Mukti Morcha versus Union of India in 1984. Again, the Supreme Court has held that the government cannot disown their duty towards a safe working condition, and they cannot state that because this is lack of the court's order or the exploitation of the worker, as the case may be represented from the side of the petitioner. It is the duty of the responsibility, and that is the responsibility, actively taking the cognizance of the incidents in such a case of the exploitation, and taking the measures to ensure the work environment safety. So this is the duty of the government. They must to take care. They should not be the exploitation into the workplaces. And after that, one of the petition is pending before the Supreme Court, that is the Indian Federation of App-Based Transport Workers, which has been filed before the Supreme Court of India in 2021, where the petition mainly raised the three questions. That is, do the gig workers fall under the scope of the unorganized workers under the Unorganized Workers Social Security Act 2008, or is the failure to include the gig workers under the scope of the unorganized workers is a violation of their right to equality, or does the denial to the social security to the gig workers amount to the violation of right to life under Article 21, and the exploitation through the forced labor under Article 23. And now recent time, see, ILO is very, very sensitive for this. So into this direction, now ILO is working on the draft convention, and into their draft convention on the decent work into the platform economy. Here, this is the fifth agenda. ILO working on, ILO is very, very sensitive and working on this direction. So ILO is working on the draft convention. It's on decent work in the platform economy, and this decent work into the platform economy, it is one of the fifth item on the agenda for the International Labour Conference in its 114th session of 2026, and so it would be announcing a milestone for the workers right into the platform economy. So this is from my side. Thank you so much.
Hello everybody, welcome back, and here I am to give a preview, very short obviously, in the area of what we mean by operation research and optimizations. So we know operation research and optimization is used generally where you have some resources and you want to utilize them in the best possible way considering what your main objective is. Now if we stop here and go back in the past, so the obvious question comes, from where did this this technique of operation research and optimization, which is an area of mathematical techniques, come into the existence. So, generally, even though the work has started from areas of mathematics, economics, but generally it is considered that operation research and optimizations were very heavily used, and it became popular during World War II in trying to schedule different resources, manpower, armaments, considering there were resource constraints, time constraints and space constraints and so on and so forth. Now, for the general public, it should be aware that we consider from the academic point of view, there are different people, very famous people who have worked, but George Danzig is considered the father who really proposed the technique of linear programming as a very nice tool where you can use operation research techniques in order to optimize the resources which are there depending on different constraints which you have. And after that, things have really moved very fast. They have been developing throughout the world. They have been usage. They are different type of societies, so on and so forth. And in course of time, we see and we still find exciting areas of application, but theoretically there has been a growth in techniques like robust optimization, stochastic optimization, dynamic programming, parametric programming, nonlinear programming, so on and so forth, and they are used depending on the concept and the areas of application which we see for either finance, for marketing, for scheduling, for engineering field and so on and so forth. Now, application of OR and optimization, if somebody asks, is a very difficult question to answer, because if I start now, it will almost take about 1 hour to give you all the areas of application of optimization and operation research are. But to keep it very brief, considering that you are all ready and eager to take that as a subject, I will just highlight the areas of applications, some of which are in scheduling, in assignment problem, in facility location, like you want to build up a factory, you want to build up some storehouse, so on and so forth. It is used in network flows, like you want to transport some goods, transport manpower from one area to another area. So, how we will try to basically do it in the best possible way. What is best would obviously depend on how you are trying to use optimization as a tool in different areas. It can be used, operation research and optimization can be used in health services, in financial portfolio management, asset liability management, game theory and so on and so forth. Now, in the recent past, even though it is very well known, but still I would like to highlight the point that the computing powers and the techniques of operation research and obviously in statistics has exponentially grown. And with very sophisticated programming being available, like we know that there is MATLAB, there is R, there is SAS, which are different type of optimization tools. We see nowadays that operation research and optimization is also used in health sciences, in gene replication theory, in area of say for example prediction of weather, in the area of say for example prediction of earthquake, how you find out the best possible way to take actions such that it meets your overall demand. Say for example in prediction of earthquakes, you would like to basically build up your houses, build up the dams, build up the overall locations of people staying in different localities in such a way that the minimization of the losses are sustained. Furthermore, after the advent of computing and advent of different techniques, we see many meta heuristic and heuristic techniques are very heavily used in parlance of operation research and optimization by joining them together such that you get the best benefit. So, if the question arises what are the meta heuristic techniques, I would again be very brief, because again there is a huge amount of literature, huge amount of application areas, huge amount of research which are being done in the area of genetic algorithm, taboo search, ant colony optimization, simulated annealing, then in the area of particle swarm optimization, in the area of artificial immune system and so on and so forth. In the coming years, it is thought and definitely with some positive viewpoint that the area of multi-criteria decision making and multi-objective programming, where you use different type of tools and use the different advancement of optimization which has been made in such a way that you can basically optimize two different objective functions which are there in front of you, such that either if considering the area of finance, you can either maximize your return for the portfolio or minimize the risk also, or say for example you want to basically have a layout such that minimization of cost is one factor and the maximization of, say for example, benefit which accrues to different type of users in this overall layout can be attained at the same time. So, obviously it means that what we are seeing is a huge application of optimization along with different type of computing and heuristic techniques, such that in years to come this area of optimization would become one of the best tools where you accrue and get the benefits in the best possible way. And I am sure that the students or the participants who will take this exciting add-on to their CVs and to their curriculum, the techniques how they can be used in the best possible practice.